Greetings all, it's Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Macro Talk 2, and I forgot to clean my glasses. It's always the last thing on my list. This is a Zoom week. That means this Saturday there is a Zoom meeting, 10 o'clock in the morning until noon o'clock, also in the morning. And this week we've got several fun things to do, but we're also going to carry on this discussion about travel. Because I know a lot of you are travelers and it'll be fun. But before we get to anything else, I want to say hi to a newcomer who let us know that he was a newcomer. That was Agent Volk from Florida. Greetings, my friend. I hear you're new to macro and you're using a reversed 18 to 55. That is a very difficult way to do macro. If you go over to Discord and ask anybody over there, they'll tell you why. And they'll give you other suggestions of things you might want to try. But we've got loads of ideas for you. So everybody say hi to Agent Volk and be ready to give the man some help if he needs it. Okay, I'm assuming it's a man. I don't know why I would do that other than the fact that I'm sexist is the only thing I can think of. So it's August the 15th today. No, it's not. Or is it? Hang on, let me do some adding up. It is the 15th today. It's the 17th on Saturday. Now, think about this for a second. I announced the other day that we had Zoom on Saturday, but no tangent, because we only have tangent every other weekend, right? No, wrong. It's after the second. Okay. Bear with me on this. We have tangent every 2 weeks. That is incorrect. We have Zoom every 2 weeks, and after the second Zoom of the month, here I'm getting it right now, after the second Zoom of the month, then we have the tangent that day. Right, you're getting this now. This is where it gets tricky. You may need a pencil for this. This Saturday is the 17th. If the first Zoom of the month happened on the first day of the month, then provided this Saturday has a date of the 15th or later, then it would be the second occurrence of the presume in the month, and it would be time for tangent. Well, it's the 17th on Saturday. So that would mean, yes, in fact, it is the tangent. But I said there wasn't. And I got some trouble for that. So there you go. It's too late now because I already said there wasn't, so there isn't. Which means we're going to do it on the 31st. But then we'll go back to doing it after the second presume of the month. Would you rather I just skipped all of this? I'll just skip all of this from now on. The picnic is on for the 7th of September. 7th of September. That is a Saturday. Everybody who's coming, I've got your names. You will get an email from me telling you everything you need to bring, which is nothing, I guess, and except your camera. And that's about it. So, yeah, I'll get in touch, in other words. If you meant to get in touch and you never got in touch and you didn't tell me and you're just in tears continuously over the whole thing, don't worry about it. Let me know. We'll figure out a way to get you in. And the only other thing that I wanted to tell you about was my studio. You know I haven't rebuilt it yet because I just moved. Yesterday I was building a table and getting some stuff ready. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some radical changes. I'm going to do some stuff very differently and build a much more permanent and solid rig. And to do that, I'm having to source some materials from different places. And that's going to be the focus of some live streams over the next few days. So if you're new to extreme macro and you're thinking about building something for your workspace and you want to know what to do, what to build, don't watch my old videos from 6 years ago, but watch the live streams over the coming week or two, and I'll give you all the pointers you need. I'll explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm doing things very differently than I did then. And I'll show you how all that goes together. I'm working on the plans right now, and maybe that'll be what we'll do the first live stream next week, is go over my plans, and I'll show you all the drawings I've put together. And you can look at them and decide if that's something you want to do along with me. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be very helpful if you're new to extreme macro. I think many of you have already got rigs, but are thinking it might be time to upgrade. So watch that. I think you'll be excited. There's a lot to learn. I had told you that we were also going to do a series on building a microscope focus block stacking device, start to finish, bunch of videos, maybe some live streams as well on that. We are going to do that, but we've got a bit of good news. Is I was pretty much going to be dependent on when I got Mr. Hall's microscope, because we're going to use his microscope to cut up and build this thing with. But now we have two microscopes because Bud is letting me have the use of his. Well, I'm going to make his thing out of the microscope, and we'll use that one as well in the video. So we'll have two, so we can do different demonstrations with them and everything. But yeah, it's good news. It's going to be another exciting series of extreme macro stuff. So the next few weeks are going to be very productive. What are we talking about today? Well, I could see from the chat that you guys are having a lot of fun poking fun at me for things I said on Tuesday about destination travel for macro. Well, you're really going to love this one, is all I can say, because that one was deadly serious, and this one's more light-hearted. In this one, we talk about trypanosomiasis and falciparum malaria, that type of thing. Fun stuff, upbeat stuff. These are the 10 ways that you can absolutely flat ruin your vacation, in many cases before you even leave, and without making too much effort. So if you're one of these jet setters that zooms all over the world to take macro photographs, you should write some of this stuff down, because these are ways to ruin it. Absolutely ruin it. Probably the biggest, most common first thing that everybody does is fail to thoroughly research your destination, to look at where you're going and what's there and what you'll be expected to know about when you get there. But at the very bare minimum, once you've looked at things like, is it safe to go there, and what diseases will I catch when I get there, study what you're going to photograph, the fauna and the flora. presumably. That'll be the most of the things we'll be looking at, and the best times to shoot them. For example, and I'm going to give you examples of all of these, and I'm not going to own up to any of them myself. I'll use a made-up name in some cases to make you think it's somebody else. But take, for example, the photographer who goes to Costa Rica, which is a lovely place, wonderful food. Yeah, it's a great place to visit. And you're going there because you really want to photograph one of those blue morpho butterflies. What does a blue morpho butterfly look like, you say? Let me show you a picture of one. I got these ready this time so that I wouldn't be hunting around for things like that during the thing. And I've got a big one so that you can see what it really looks like, if I can find the right button to press. So here's a blue morpho butterfly. That's a female, as you can tell from the big letters FEMALE on the bottom left-hand corner. That's how you know it's a female. Yeah, when you go to Costa Rica to photograph a blue morpho, it's best for you to go when they're there, and they are there in the rainy season from May to November, as everybody knows who's ever been to Costa Rica. So they're active then. They're much easier to find. But when you go in January, there aren't any. Nope, none of them. They're all gone in January, and you'll never see one. You probably won't even see a stuffed one, because they've all been bought during the rainy season. So not doing a bit of research before you go can mean that you're missing the whole point. You wouldn't go to well, I won't belabor the point. Don't go down there when the butterflies aren't there. Ask somebody when they are. Getting your equipment prepared is rather important, and that means checking it, making sure it works, that you have batteries and chargers, and film if you use film, cards if you don't have film. Do you know that in, for example, Namibia, in the desert, the Namibia desert, they don't sell memory cards? I don't think they do. Maybe they do somewhere, but probably not where you'll be. So you take them with you. Take with you the things that you're going to need, and take only working things. If your camera has stuff hanging out of it, wires or smoke coming from it, don't take it. Take the other camera that works, and double check, triple check everything. I went out and I double checked everything this week. I don't get much time off. I took an hour off earlier in the week. I grabbed my camera, I checked 2 batteries, put them in, actually checked that they came on, grabbed my bag, my tripod, a couple of lenses, put everything in my camera bag, and I headed out, and I got to the place I was going, and I found the insect I was looking for, and I raised the camera to my eye to discover I didn't have a memory card in, and I didn't have a memory card in the bag or in my pocket. I had them in my house, which wasn't with me. So yeah, make a list if you have to. If you're as scattered as I am, make a list and go down the list. Otherwise, you're going to end up not taking pictures. I didn't take any pictures that day. I left my phone at home as well. That would have been a backup, but I didn't have one. Take stuff that you are going to use and take backups if you have to. Something that you might not think of, and if you've never traveled internationally and you're traveling internationally for macro photography, then you're a fool. Travel first somewhere just to practice traveling, but know what the local restrictions are. Certain places have rules. In fact, almost all places have rules about things you can and cannot do, and things that you shouldn't do. It's very easy to not know about something when it's culturally very different than we do. For example, nobody's going to give you in trouble for photographing a nun walking down the street. But if you photograph a monk doing monk stuff in Burma, for example, you'll get in trouble. You'll go to jail, maybe forever. I don't know. So find out. Talk to somebody who's been to Burma, or better yet, been to a Burmese jail and has just got out. Ask them what they looked at, what they photographed. Know that stuff before you go. There's another thing that you shouldn't do is photograph. You know how in parts of America they have churches on every street corner. Maybe I'm thinking just of the South, but they're everywhere. Like every block there'll be a church, so you can stop and photograph them, and they'll probably be glad you did. Get the word out and everything. Not so in Burma. There is or Myanmar. I'm sorry. There's a pagoda there called the Shwadagan, something like that. It's a big old pagoda. Would you like to see it? You're not supposed to take photographs of it, but I just took a quick one. I can't go back there now, though. I know, seriously, I didn't take this. Somebody else did. But it's a fairly impressive thing. So that's the thing you shouldn't photograph ever. And somebody did, obviously, and it's a gigantic thing. And if you take pictures of that and they catch you, they'll throw you in jail. I'm just not kidding. You can get your equipment taken away, you can get beaten up, or you can get thrown in jail. And either way, there's nothing like a diplomatic incident to ruin your holiday. So, knowing what the local customs are and the local laws and the what you do and don't do is super important from the minute you get off the aeroplane. Understand the climate of where you're going. I'm going to give you a very practical example from one of my very favorite places on the planet, Iceland. A place, if you've never been to Iceland, you have a treat in store for you. There is nothing more exciting than coming back from Iceland to anywhere that you came from. Newcastle. You could be going back to Newcastle from Iceland, and you'd be excited about it. You go to Iceland because you've heard, well, hang on, the name, cold, I'm going to go photograph ice crystals in their natural habitat. Right, okay, so off you go to Iceland. Take all of your money. You're going to need all of your money if you want to eat anything while you're there. But let's assuming you have enough money to eat and you go there and you want to go out because you've heard it's cold and you've got your camera and everything and you're ready to take pictures of ice. Do you have any idea how cold it actually is there? You know it's cold, but 50 degrees below zero and windy is not just cold. It's impossible to live in. So you can't go over there with your parka that you used to wear to school, the warm coat that your mother made you put on, because you'll freeze to death at the lobby to the hotel. You've got to take 100 extra batteries with you because a battery only lasts about 3 seconds at that temperature. And I tell you what, better yet, simpler rule, don't bother understanding the climate, just don't go to Iceland for your photography. That was a lot easier. I should have thought of that. Poor time management. Misjudging travel times and what time zones you're going to be in can really it cost you a couple of days of photography. There was a photographer, went to New Zealand, and he was off to that Fjordland place we talked about before, and he flew all the way from America, a 23.5-hour flight, to photograph an alpine buttercup, which is a flower, and it's not even a pretty flower, it's a boring yellow flower. Would you like to see a picture of it? I have a picture of it. Or did I may have fallen asleep looking at the picture of it. No, here it is. Ranunculus adonius. There you go, that's it. That's all I'm going to show you. It's just, there you go. It's a buttercup. Would you know from that you were in New Zealand? I would argue you wouldn't. But let's say you're a plant specialist and that's the buttercup that you really wanted to do. So you get there but you got your times all messed up because you didn't look at the clock the way it was going to be when you got to New Zealand. And then after hiking for 90 minutes up the side of the valley to get there, the sun's gone down and you've missed a whole day. Should have slept when you got in and then gone the next day. But just look at the clock. Have you ever heard of, obviously you haven't, I can't remember the name of it. It's that computer thing you put in your phone that tells you where the sun's going to be at every time of day. Oh, I can't remember. It's a great program, though. Get it. Just tell the people at the App Store you want that thing that Alan was talking about that has times of day on it and sun and moon and all that. And it'll tell you when to go there. So you don't waste time, because you've got to not do that. Inadequate safety precautions. I'm going to give you a whole talk in just a minute on what to avoid doing and what medicines to... Well, I'm not going to advise you on medicines and things. I'm going to tell you how prophylaxis works for certain diseases. But there are some places that you go that you just are guaranteed to be exposed to the illness. There are parts of South America and Africa where you'll go, and as you're getting off the plane, you're being bitten by mosquitoes that carry plasmodium. Right there and then. So you already know. I told you, you already know about it. So start taking your treatment before you go. Don't wait till you get there. And I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. But not taking care of health issues before you go can just, it can result in you being dead too, because they don't have dock in the boxes. Well, they do. They have a dock in the box out in the desert in Namibia. It's right next to the shop that sells the memory cards. So if you find it, you'll be fine for both. But you won't get malaria in Namibia, I don't think. Don't know about that. Don't hold me to that. There's another one. Common sense safety. If you went to, say, Rio de Janeiro, there are parts of Rio that are more unsafe than going to an active war zone. You just don't go there. They're very dangerous. Would you go to that place with a bag slung over your shoulder, and on that bag was written cash and then dollar signs? You would. Okay. All right. Have a safe trip. No, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't walk around with a bag saying full of money. But you will get off the plane and walk through the seediest part of town, which is the airport, with a backpack that says Nikon on it. Do you see my point? If you're going to carry a bag full of expensive camera gear through an airport, have a sticker emblazoned on it that says soiled nappies, for example. There are other things you could write on it, but something that people generally won't want to steal from you. If they think you've got camera gear in there, they will take it from you. I went to Haiti. Nothing against Haiti. I have a lot of things against Haiti. It's not a nice place. I was there at the airport with 2 suitcases, one of which had some clothes and some books. The other one was packed with medical supplies. And the people at these are the police that check you into the country. They actually shake you down as you go into the country. They opened up my cases, they looked at my clothes and closed it. Opened up the other one, looked at the medical supplies, very valuable on the black market, and took the case, confiscated it as fees for entering the country. There was no argument or written anything. It was just they took it, and they took most of our stuff. There were 20 doctors or so. Took all of our stuff that they could. The eye doctor, who had been down there before, was going through there again, had a bag with medical supplies in it, and then he had a bag that had some, I can't remember what it was, on it, but it looked like used sporting equipment. It was just a horrible looking bag. All his eye surgery stuff was in that other bag, and he got it all through there fine. So think about what you're doing when you carry expensive gear and and yourself into another country. And I'm going to tell you about some of the worst airports in the universe that you need to be aware of. Just because oftentimes the places that have the best insects also have the worst airports, as you'll find out. Have a backup plan. If you're going to somewhere, can you hear my chair squeaking when I get excited and move? I can. It's bothering me. I'll have to oil it. Have a backup plan so that if you're going to a place that, for example, has bad weather every day, have a bad weather plan. If you're going to a place that does not have a political environment that's very stable, and they frequently have riots and things like that, well, don't go. But if you are going, have an alternative for shooting their parliament or something where the demonstrations are going to be, unless you're there to photograph demonstrations, which I don't recommend. Have a plan B, have a plan C. Don't spend all that money to go somewhere and then sit around because it's raining. Doesn't make any sense. I knew somebody went to the Galapagos to photograph tortoises and lizards, and it rained the whole time. Didn't know what to do. Didn't take any pictures. Could have done something else. I don't know what else you'd do in the Galapagos, for crying out loud, when it rains. There really isn't much to do, but he could have thought of that before he went. Failing to think about power. It's a brilliant idea if you're going off the beaten track to take with you some of those fold-out magic things that soak up sun power and turn it into camera battery power. Great idea. Guy goes to the Himalayas, and he's there to photograph the people at base camp or something like that. I don't know what it was. There's nothing macro to photograph there. It's all gigantic, like the mountains and everything. But it didn't matter. He didn't have a battery for his phone. He didn't bother charging them before he went because he had his handy dandy charger. And then it rained and snowed. Well, snowed, I guess, mostly. But there was cloud cover. The sun never came out. Never charged a battery. He should have taken a bicycle charger as well, if he'd thought about it. But yeah, you've got to do some thinking before you go. Overpacking, carrying too much gear. Very common. People coming from our neck of the woods going to other places. You've got just scads of gear and 600mm lenses and all that. If you're doing that and you're going on a safari, and you're in the back of a little jeep and you're zipping around in Africa, when you see the lion, you have to really have your camera ready for it. You cannot then start digging in your bag. So it's best to take just what you think you're going to use and a backup, maybe, so that you can travel light and be ready for the shot. Otherwise, you're there, but you don't get the shots. I'm going to talk about food and all the other health things that will ruin trips, but it comes down to the diseases that you can do something about before you go, the food that you shouldn't eat while you're there, and things like physical exhaustion. If your average activity is walking to your car to drive to McDonald's and then getting somebody to carry you back in afterwards, don't go to Brazil to do the rainforest, which involves a 12-hour hike every day. You'll die. You'll die while you're there. So just think about it in advance. When you're down in a hot place carrying your camera bag and you've been out for 10 hours and you start feeling thirsty, it's too late. You're already dehydrated. You're already going to be headed for kidney shutdown. So these are all great ways to ruin a holiday. Not doing the planning is really what it boils down to. But let's talk specifically about some of the fun stuff. Tsetse flies, for example. Tsetse flies, lovely little creatures. They bite you. They're African. They bite you and they cause sleeping sickness, which is trypanosomiasis. That's not just being sleepy. That's getting an infection in your blood that you then go to sleep, as in you put your sick pet to sleep. No, it's dying. and it's a bad disease. And there is no chemoprophylaxis for it, unlike with malaria. So when you're going to a place that has tsetse flies, maybe you're going to photograph the tsetse flies. Don't bother. They look like house flies. In fact, you could just photograph a housefly and tell everybody it's a tsetse fly. Only an entomologist would know. You wear long sleeves. By force of habit, when I'm outdoors, which is usually all of the time, I wear long sleeves and long trousers because I don't like being bitten anyway, but I certainly don't want to be bitten in a place where they have these diseases. So you wear long sleeves, you wear a hat with a net over it. I've got one of those. It's ridiculous and people will laugh at you. In fact, they'll all laugh at you, and it doesn't stop you getting bitten because the clever flies just get on the net where it's touching your neck and bite through it, which happened to me all the time. But still have it and try it. Insect repellent like DEET. Tsetse flies don't like DEET. They don't mind it exactly. They will eat it. So you probably need to use a combination. There's permethrin, I believe, is one. Poisonous for you, but it does scare off the tsetse flies a little better. Sleep under a bed net. I used to sleep under a bed net in Haiti. It's like a tent, only you can see through it, and it doesn't stop rain. It's just a net. You hang it on the ceiling and you tuck it into your bed at the four corners. Now, I had a little narrow cot and my mosquito net over the top. The worst part of that, and I photograph insects kind of for a living, I was never ready to open my eyes in the morning when I woke up because of the horrors that would await you when you did. Because when you opened your eyes, your net would be covered with the most gigantic, frightful looking insects you've ever seen. Things I've never seen since, like nightmare insects with big grabbers and long antennas and stingers and things everywhere. And they didn't stop the mosquitoes. The mosquitoes would get in under the net somehow. So think about that. And there's, of course, the big one is don't go there. Don't go to the place with tsetse flies. Go to Minnesota instead. Or New Mexico. Somebody told me there are a lot of reasons not to go to New Mexico, but tsetse flies is not one of them. Surveillance and early detection. If you're going to a tsetse fly infested place and you know it, then you can get screened for the disease. If you do get infected with trypanosome, your testing will show it, and you can then be started on treatment to avoid the severest of symptoms. Anyway, there are no pills for it, which is why it's probably best just be smart and don't go there. But let's say you're going almost anywhere else in the world that's tropical, going where the falciparum mosquitoes go, which is everywhere in between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer. Plasmodium falciparum malaria is bad news, and once you get it, you've got it, and it sticks around for a long time. There are pills that you can take that will stop you from getting it, but you have to take the pills. If you don't take the pills and you don't start taking them before you go, you could get malaria, and if you get malaria, you will know it for the rest of your adult life. Malarone, which is, Proganil, it's a one-a-day anti-malarial tablet. I can't remember, I didn't take that one when I was down there, but you take it before you go, you take it while you're there, you take it for 7 days after you get back. It's mostly pretty well tolerated. There's another thing that you'll get put on is an antibiotic, doxycycline, which will kill them. And you have to take that for a month after you get back. It's good. It stops you from getting rickettsia and other things as well, but it does cause your stomach to get upset in many people. Probably quinine. You probably heard of tonic water and what have you. Lariam is the drug. You start that. You only have to take it once a week, and you start it a week before you go, or 2 weeks before you go, something like that, and then you take it for 4 weeks after you get back. That's a good one, except it causes you to go mad, or it causes nightmares and anxiety and other things, but that's the one I'd take, seeing as I wouldn't notice the change in mental status. If you're going to a place that has the other kinds of malaria, like Vivax and Ovale, which are bad, relapsing diseases, then there are pills for you too. The Primaquin's the one that is used for Vivax and Ovale. There are some rare metabolic disorders that some people have. You may have heard of G6PD. It's a deficiency that you know if you've got it because your doctor will have told you about it. Those people can't take Primaquin or any quinine-containing things. But find out. The World Health Organization publishes this information. Your doctor will know this information. The State Department knows it. Anybody on the street can probably tell you about it. Make sure you're up to date, and there is no vaccine, by the way. They vaccinate kids for malaria, and it probably doesn't work. Do you know what the number one life-saving thing that you can do for human beings in malaria-prone areas? 3 guesses. Nope, you didn't get it. Bednetting. Putting nets on beds stops more deaths from malaria than almost anything else that you can do health-wise in undeveloped countries. That is not an exaggeration. There is a person I admire who's a generous benefactor to a number of charities. He could choose where he put his money. And he put it in bednetting, which he buys bajillions of and gets distributed in these countries, because it stops more deaths than anything else that you can do with those dollars. So be aware of that. Insect repellents, if you're in a place where mosquitoes are hanging out all the time, yeah. Some of them work, most of them don't. They don't. If you're the right kind of blood type and the mosquitoes like you regardless, it doesn't matter how much DEET you have on. It won't bother them, but it probably doesn't hurt to squirt a little bit on. Sleep under bed netting that's been treated with the deterrent that I was talking about a minute ago. Can't remember the name of it now. Ever since I got malaria, my memory has just been totally shot. But they make bed netting that's been impregnated with. Can't remember it. It'll come to me in a second. They're the ones you want. They're the bed nets that will really work. Of course, long sleeve, long trousers, and everything, and just keep away from clouds of mosquitoes. Stay in an air-conditioned room. Sleep under a bed net, and you've got to be very, very careful if you're traveling to countries with medications that you need to prophylax against diseases like this. They will take them from you, so you've got to be very, very careful that you have them tucked away somewhere safe. Haiti's another good example. They don't care who the medicine was for. They'll take it to sell it. So, be aware of that. Okay, I'm not going to go on any more about that, but I do want to tell you about some dangerous airports while we've got a little bit of time left. I ought to stop and pause and see if anybody's left any messages that I should be responding to. But, I'm on a roll, and I just can't hardly stop myself. I see all kinds of nifty recommendations from people. That's good. I'll look at the rest of them in a minute. No super chats. No. That's money changing hands if you're a newcomer. That's where you give me some money and I pay attention to you. Like, it's the same way it works with my children. except I give them the money to pay attention to them. Okay, so where was I? Airports. There are two ways airports are dangerous for traveling photographers. The first is that you will crash and burn taking off or landing. So I've got 5 airports that you should never go to. If it's on your itinerary, cancel the trip. And then I've got about 10 airports that you should never go to because you will get robbed at some point between getting off the plane and getting in the taxi, if it's a real taxi. I'll tell you what all the scams are too, so that you can be ready for them if you make it that far, if you don't crash on landing. So pay attention, take notes. Lukla Airport. It's called the Tenzing Hillary Airport, and it's in Nepal. Those things together should give you a clue. You should say, Hillary. That sounds like that Australian guy that climbed Mount Everest, which is in Nepal. And you're starting to put this together and you're thinking, well, is this Lukla Airport near Mount Everest? Well, it is. Yes, it is. It's up in the mountains. It's 10,000 feet up in the mountains, and the runway looks like this. And why anybody lands there or takes off, well, taking off is fairly easy. You just take the handbrake off and you're off. But it's the most dangerous airport in the world. When you land there, I have not landed there. I have not even thought about landing there. You can see the crashed planes all around the airport that guide you in. So yeah, there are only like 7 people in the world who are allowed to land there. Everybody else does so illegally. So just the runway is only 500 meters long. Do you know how long 500 meters? Do you know how long a regular runway is? It's 3 times that long or 6 times that long. I don't know. It's long. So, yeah. Why were you going to Mount Everest to do macro photography is the other question. So, there's that. Princess Juliana International Airport on San Martin. You've seen pictures. You've seen pictures of people holding on to a chain link fence with their bodies out horizontally behind them as a jumbo jet takes off in front of them or lands over the top of their head, usually about 6 inches from their head. A jumbo jet with its engines going. That's San Martin. That's the airport. You should never try to land there, because a lot of the time the planes don't make it to the runway because they have to come in so low. They grab a couple of swimmers and crash. So yeah, don't do it. And if you do it, don't then go behind the airport and hang on to the chain link fence and try that thing just to get on TikTok. It's not worth it. Paro Airport in Bhutan. It's located in a valley that is surrounded by mountains of 18,000 feet. And there's no way into the valley. It's just a valley with mountains all around it. The planes have to come in vertically and turning at the same time. And then at the last second, straighten out, because that's the runway, you're already on it. There's none of this, flying for 100 miles, gradually getting lower and lower until you touch down. No. It's I've seen pictures of people landing there. It looks insane. It looks like they're just crashing into the ground until the very last second. There are only a handful of pilots in the whole world who are allowed to land there. The rest, you got it. The rest are all dead. The Toncontin International Airport in Honduras, also in a mountainous area. This one is even worse because there is absolutely nothing in front of the runway except mountains, and it blows wind right up the valley the whole time. So planes, go on YouTube and look up the names of any of those airports and just put in landings, and it'll put you off flying forever. You'll never do it again. So let's assume you don't go to those places. You go to a place where you can land at somewhere sensible, like Rome, or Melbourne, and you land and you go out to do your macro photography, but you've got to get through the airport. Which airports don't you want to go through? Number one, don't go to the Lagos Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Nigeria. It has the reputation for the most unsafe airport in the universe, with corruption, bribery, theft, kidnapping, murder, extortion, and that's only the stuff that the actual airport officials do to you. If the criminals get to you, it's even worse. The most common thing there is just to have your luggage stolen right out from under you when you walk into the airport. So the trick would be, don't go there. If you go there, don't take luggage. And if you don't take luggage, you shouldn't be there anyway. So just don't go there. Caracas Simón Bolívar International Airport in Venezuela. Why is it dangerous? Well, they're having a war, and if you're there, you're considered a target. And everybody, from employees and police and criminals, are going to steal from you because that's their job. It is a difficult place to be. It's a difficult place to live. If you don't need to be there, don't be there. There is no butterfly down there that is worth getting yourself hurt for. Johannesburg, the OR Tambo International Airport in South Africa. Tambo is well known for the mafia crime that they have, in that they have elevated stealing your luggage to a grand art. It's almost guaranteed that you're not going to get through there without having something taken from you. I've always wanted to go to South Africa, but I'm not going to go until they have a different airport that you can fly into, like London Airport. But that's in London, so it's always too inconvenient. Mexico City. That'll surprise you. Crime, theft, scams, all the usual things. They're famous for their taxi service that isn't really a taxi service. They're just kidnapping you. So it's probably good to ask. If somebody says, would you like a taxi, say, are you going to kidnap me? If they say no, don't believe them, and just don't go there. Don't go there. The airport scams. Okay, fake taxi drivers, number one. There should be a 1B, and that is real taxi drivers who shouldn't be taxi drivers. The last time I was down in, I can't remember, one of those islands in the Caribbean, and I got a taxi from the airport to go eat dinner with a guy with one eye and some kind of terrible nervous disorder. He spent most of the time on sidewalks and grassy areas, and only a little bit of it and one wheel of it on roads, and I was scared to death. I think he'd only recently lost the other eye and wasn't good at depth perception. Who knows? But yeah, so fake taxi drivers, they're the ones that they aren't, but they're not fake drivers. They can drive, and they are driving a taxi. So really, fake taxi driver is misleading. They're just criminals. They're going to abscond with you or your luggage. They'll throw your luggage in the back and then fail to put you in with it, and off you go, and you're not going with them. Or they'll take you somewhere and ask for money from other people to give you back. That's called kidnapping. They do that as well. Sometimes they just offer you a fixed price. It's a deal. It's a fixed price. There's nothing better than a fixed price. Where are you going? Doesn't matter. It's a fixed price. The fixed price, well, that's all your money. However much you brought with you, that's the fixed price. You're much better off going with Uber or Lyft or an official. I say that, but I don't know what Nigerian Uber is like. I have a feeling it might not be safe. But if you're unsure, just ask somebody, and don't just walk, because you'll probably walk through a bad part of town. Overpriced currency exchanges. If you know that the going rate for an American dollar is, take for example, oh hang on, I've got a question and a super chat. Everything stops for that. And this is Diane asking me, I have a question on making black and white prints using tonal maps to adjust the image to the scale or zone. Will you still use RGB or grayscale? Yes. If the pictures were taken on your regular camera with your regular sensor in it, then you've got all the RGB data, and you can. Yeah, I'll tell you what. That's one that we're going to need to. You would use RGB. I would use RGB because, of course, that's how you use the colors in the picture to boost and control the tones the way you want them to appear in the black and white. So that's the most sensitive way. You could also do it in lab, I believe. But I'll get back to you, Diane, and give you a proper answer after the live stream, because that would take the rest of the time to do. But it's a good one. And Lagos is absolutely hell, says Alistair, and he would know. The answer, though, the short version is use RGB. And yeah, it's the easiest way to go. Okay, so the currency exchange. You know that $1 is worth where are you going? Let's say you're going to a place where you know that $1 is worth one of their amounts of currency. Trying to think of one off the top of my head. I can't think of any African currencies. Anyway, you know roughly what it's worth. You get there and they have these very convenient booths where they'll take your money and they'll give you an exchange rate, and it seems a little high, not in your favor, in their favor. Well, it is a little high. They just boost the numbers. Go to a bank. Go to a financial institution that's international and will give you the exchange rate. Maybe charge a fee, but I have seen people lose half their spending money at Rome Airport buying, back in the day, buying lira, because lira, you needed millions of lira to buy anything, so that they could give you an exchange rate that was terrible, and it would sound like it was really good, because you buy millions of them, but in fact you were getting next to nothing. So just don't do that. Baggage helpers, people who want to carry your bag. It would be more helpful if they just came up to you and said, "Excuse me, sir, can I steal your luggage?" Because that's what they're going to do. They'll carry your luggage right out of there. So, unless, even if they have a label that says official bag carrier, don't trust it, because you can make these labels. You can have name tags that say anything you want. If there's something, an ID or something that really is official and you can read it and it sounds right, by that time you could have walked home with your bags. So it's probably best just don't give them to anybody. Just politely decline. That's going to be the answer to all of these. Politely decline. Fake airport officials. If the man is not wearing shoes and his name tag says he's the pilot, he's not the pilot. Just assume he's not. Whatever it is he's asking you for or to do, say no thank you and walk on. Don't look in their eye. Okay? And it's not just no shoes. It's if they're fake. That when did an airport official ever come and talk to you about anything? Unless you were being arrested for something. Never. Well, why would they do it there? They wouldn't. If they come to talk to you, they're not real. Maybe maybe they are real, but there's nothing useful that they are going to do with you. So just say no, thank you, and move on. Free Wi-Fi. This is a good one. This is a new one. Have you ever heard of this? The flipper. Okay. They've all got those. They're born with them at these airports. People in bad airports around the world have flippers, and they'll set you up on a free Wi-Fi for your convenience, so that you can get on Wi-Fi while you're there in the airport. That's so that they can suck all of your passwords and codes and secret things out of your phone using a flipper or something similar, and you're done for. Politely decline. Use an official Wi-Fi thing, that you're roaming thing that you buy before you leave, or go with something like AT&T. Make sure that they spell AT&T correctly, or it might not be the real one. Fake police and security officers. This is how bad it is. You get robbed, so you go to the police, but they're not real either. They're also robbers that are dressed up as police, and they're there to bribe you. Would be the main thing, because you don't have anything left, because it's already been stolen by the other people. But if you got through the others, the police may try to bribe you, and they can also hold you and accuse you of bogus things like drug smuggling, or a primrose photography, or photographing the Buddhist temple or whatever, and demand you pay a fine before you can go home. Just don't look them in the eye and just walk past. It's better yet, just don't go there. Wherever it is that has these folks, don't go there. If somebody comes up to you and they hold out to you a Rolex watch, solid gold, and say, "Sir, I just found this. I believe you may have dropped it." You didn't. Thank them, politely decline, and leave. Because what it is a fake thing that they're going to suggest that you give them a reward for finding for you, and the reward will be 10 times what the fake thing's worth. I wouldn't mention any names about this, but seeing as my brother doesn't watch this, and that's his fault, he bought a rare piece of pre-Columbian pottery at an airport for a lot of money. I'm not going to say anything else about the story. I almost said a bad word there, but yeah, he did. Anyway, politely decline. The meter in the taxi is broken. If that's the first thing the taxi driver tells you when you get in and get tucked in and wipe the blood off the seats and everything, and you're settled in for the ride, and he says, "Excuse me, my thing doesn't work. My taxi meter doesn't work. So we're just going to use a flat rate, a discounted rate to wherever you're going." Politely decline and get out of the taxi, because that no meter running thing is going to cost you all of your spending money for the whole of your holiday by the time you get to where you're going. It's not broken. They just turn it off. So just don't do it. ATMs. Okay, right. You need to have some money when you're traveling. So you go to the bank in your hometown and you put it in your pocket, or in one of those wallets you put around your chest, so it won't get stolen. It'll get stolen from there too. But you do that, and then you get off the airport. Why in Hades are you going to stop at an ATM in Lagos to get money? Okay, that's your own fault if you do, but none of those ATMs are going to have fewer than 10 criminals standing around them waiting for you to show up to get money out of it so they can take it from you. Or, better yet, just take your numbers by skimming the card as you put it in the machine. It is like, free victims is probably the sign they put at the airport for robbers, if they have ATM machines in there, for them to go in and stand around. Okay, tour guides. This is your last one. Tour guides. If somebody comes up to you, you've never heard of them, they've never heard of you, he's not wearing any shoes, and he says he's your tour guide, just politely decline and go find your tour guide, the one you booked through the hotel. He'll be wearing shoes, and you'll know, because he'll know your name. All right. Okay. I had to get some help from chat on doing some research on what to avoid eating when you're traveling abroad. This is when you're in these slightly less traveled areas. I'm going to list the things you shouldn't eat, and then at the end there's going to be a quiz. I'd like you to tell me what else there is. Avoid Seafood, because it can carry bacteria, viruses and parasites. Meat or poultry, because unless they're thoroughly cooked, they harbour bacteria, E. coli, salmonella. Eggs and dairy. Avoid dishes made with these. Mayonnaise, hollandaise sauce, or desserts like mousse all contain uncooked eggs, give you all kinds of nasty stuff. Do not eat street food. It's delicious. It's a great way to experience the local culture if you're prepared to eat unsanitary food. If the food, it says, if you find a vendor with a high turnover of customers, presumably that means a lot of customers eating there, not a lot of customers dying and being replaced by new customers, which is what I think of when you say high turnover. But yeah, you're allowed to sample foods if there's high turnover. Avoid street food that's sitting in the open, especially if it's hot. Okay, where are you going to get street food that's not in the open and not hot other than Iceland? Nowhere. It's all in the open and it's all hot. Dairy products, I already mentioned. Don't eat them. That's all of them. Listeria, Brucella, soft cheeses. Hard cheeses are bad. Soft cheeses are worse. If they're made with unpasteurized milk, they're poisonous. Fruits and vegetables. Okay, if they're raw or if they're unpeeled, don't eat them. If they're in salads or other things, don't eat them. If they've been washed in contaminated water, don't eat them. Peeling fruits, peel them with gloves. Don't eat the peels. Just basically don't eat them. Buffets and all-you-can-eat restaurants. That's really all that is, all the bacteria you can eat restaurants. There's nothing in there that you can eat. It's all been sitting out. It's all hot. It's all poisonous. Ice put in drinks has probably been made with ice that was made with water that wasn't purified. So you'll get disease from that. No ice in the drinks. Fish from contaminated waters. All the waters wherever you are contaminated. Just assume that. Don't eat the fish. Unfamiliar or exotic meats. I was treated to a barbecue to when I was leaving Haiti. It was a thank you dinner, and it was quite the most delicious. I didn't know what it was. It was roasted meat with some other things to eat with it, and I tucked in. I hadn't eaten food in 2 weeks, and it was dog. It was 2 dogs, and I ate both of them, and didn't discover it until afterwards. Don't eat the meat. If you don't know what it is, don't eat it. Here's one. Alcoholic beverages. You'd think, oh, finally, something I can eat, something safe. No, don't take the alcoholic beverages. A lot of these places use methanol, wood alcohol, to make them more potent. That will also make you go blind and dead. So avoid the local alcohol. Snacks from open markets, which is where all the food in some of these places can be purchased, is all the stuff that you should avoid. So don't get anything that has been exposed to contaminants, insects, or improper storage conditions. Condiments and sauces. Anything in a bottle, anything left out, anything in a warm climate. Especially mayonnaise, sauces that may contain raw ingredients. Okay. Any food that has been prepared with water. Anything. Rehydrated foods, soups, ice cream, anything. Okay, so what can you eat while you're abroad? Nothing. Absolutely nothing that you didn't take with you, according to this. So why in the world do you want to photograph a blue morpho butterfly? Buy one from butterfly.co and photograph it 100 times. Save yourself all that money. Join Patreon instead. Give the money to me. I'll travel for you. I know how to safely do it. You don't. I'm exhausted. This week's live streams were way too much fun. I'm going to have to get back to serious stuff next week because, yeah, I just get carried away with this. How's everybody doing? One of the best things a traveler can have is a Born in Detroit t-shirt. That scares the thieves even in Venezuela. I bet it does. I knew that there'd be some comments worth reading coming out of this. Oh dear. Let me see. Oh, I see that Diane got great answers from lots of folks. Good. Don't worry, Diane. Ask the question because we'll get you the answers. I mean, there's no problem with that. But yeah, let me see. Permethrin. Thank you, Joseph. I knew you'd know it. Hypothermia and frostbite are not hazardous. Yeah, they are. And you'll die from them. I actually have pictures. Would you like to see them? I have pictures of people with frostbite. I got it just for you. I've got to see where I put them. I do. You know what? I don't. I took them. Oh no, here they are. Okay, so somebody was asking about frostbite and it not being dangerous. Yeah, this is what happens in Iceland if you go out to take a picture. Your toes, first of all, turn black. Your fingers can do it too, like this. Where are they? These fingers, and then they fall off afterwards. That's frostbite. It's not to be taken lightly. I mean, and when it's 50 below, and I'm going to take those pictures off so you don't have to look at them. That was a picture I was going to show you what rain in the Galapagos looks like. That's what it looks like during the non-rainy part, but there you go. Now you know. So, yeah. Travel safe. If you're going anywhere, travel safe. I know that we all like to travel and take pictures, but seriously, a lot of this stuff is for real. You've just got to think about it before you go. Find out from other people. What are the risks? And try to stay out of the way of the most dangerous and expensive of them. I have been robbed. I have been conned at airports. And I have made all kinds of terrible mistakes in foreign countries. When you think about it, it's easy to do. I don't speak other languages. I'm terrible at languages. So it does make it to where you've got to have a plan and you've got to have a good reason for being there. But going there with somebody who speaks the language is a good way to avoid a lot of this. But anyway, it was light-hearted, but serious message there. Be prepared for what you're getting into. Well, I hope everybody has a good weekend, and we're going to be presuming it on Saturday at 10. We will not be doing Tangent this Saturday. We'll be doing it on the 31st, which we'll pretend is the second occurrence of the presume of the month. And that's on me. My fault, Larry. I apologize for the mix-up. I wrote a long and it turned out to be boring article about how I made the mistake, but I won't put you through it, so I won't publish it. Instead, I'm going to work this afternoon on getting the studio a little bit closer to set up, and yeah, I'll see you guys. If I don't see you on Saturday at the Presume, I'll see you on Tuesday at the live stream with something else. Hopefully the studio will be ready to show you around a little bit by then. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming. Take care. And thank you so much, Diane, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Take care.